Alright, what we're going to do is we're going to change the bearings in blade 130. This is the BNF version, so it's bulk bearing kit H09-007. Tools that we're going to use are just common wrenches. So first we're going to remove this silver cap. It's just held on by two Phillips head screws. And it just slides right off. So I've unclipped this. Just pull the tail shaft out. So the first bearings we're going to remove are these flange ones. I just want to remind you, whenever you're, installing new bearings, okay, one, always make sure that they're clean, okay, the bearing and the application that you're inserting the bearing into, alright. I see tons of people put dirty, brand new bearings into really dirty environments. It just doesn't make any sense. Okay. Take these ones. Bearings are so tiny. It's a bulk bearing MF681X-ZZ. It's a flange bearing. We do have these and torque tube bearings in a kit, which is H09-026. If you don't want to buy all 12 bearings. So, screw inside there. Whenever you're installing new bearings, just always make sure, okay, that they're sitting evenly in your application. Always remember, okay, when you're retightening the blades, make sure they hang with gravity, okay? If you over-tighten them, it's not going to work. When you're trying to get a bearing free, okay, it's best to use a circular motion, and you can use a screwdriver or anything that fits in the ID of that bearing. Okay, guys, when you're when you're changing out the bearings on the blade, just make sure you take a note of the blade orientation. Okay, if the canopy is facing forward, away from you, all right, the point on the left blade should point forward. Don't forget, whenever you're working on anything, whether it be the tail or the main shaft, just remember to always disconnect all the linkage. Okay guys, for the second half of the video, Brian's actually going to be showing you guys how to do most of the main shaft. Okay, I did the rear, he's going to show you guys how to do the main rotor.
Cool, go. Alright, so I'm going to take the landing skids off. I already took out 3 screws, so a little bit of two-sided tape on there, it should come right off. I've already taken most of the screws out to get this off. The bearings sit in housings here and here. There's a few more screws under this board, so I'm going to take this off so I can get to those screws. I already disconnected the control arm before, so there's a couple more screws right under here I'm going to take off. So once you get all the screws to take it apart, it won't come apart until you take off these pegs to hold the canopy on. So if you just grab one and twist it, it'll come off. And pull the other one through. That's the other side. So once we get all that apart, there's a lot of screws. There's a hidden one in here. There's 2 here. There's probably about 10, 12 screws that hold this thing together. So if it's not coming apart, you probably missed one. So pull this off. Pull off that side of the helicopter, and that'll expose the main shaft bearings. One here, and there's one here. Just to show you what I've done, I've taken this little piece of electronics and the motor off of here, so I can lay it off to the side just to make it easier to get this out. So once you get this apart, separate this. The tail comes right off. So there's a bearing and a gear right here. They slide right off. So just pull the gear off, pull off the bearing, take our new bearing, MR681X number 1. Slide it on. Slide the gear back on. Now, once you set this back in here, there's a little slot, and I hope you can see it. Set this aside. A little slot. I hope you can see it on the camera where the bearing rides. So, all you got to do is basically line that up just like that. Should sit just like that. The bearing rides in a little slot with the gear on the end. Then, when we put the main shaft in, it'll mate right up with that gear. I should push it in a little farther.
What's the thickness of it? I need to know the width of the different points for that part.
So when we put this back in, it's going to mate
just measure it
with that gear.
I'll tell you right now.
Once we got everything apart, the main shaft with the gear and everything, and the bearings will come right out. Sometimes you have to maybe put a little tool under there, gently just pop it out. So there we got the main shaft with the 2 main shaft bearings right there. Alright, to get the bearings off, basically first thing, you can pull this gear off. It's on there pretty tight. Be careful not to break it. Just grip it, pull it off. It was a little easier because I pulled it off once and put it back on. When it's on there, just carefully grip it and it will come off. So we get the first of the 2 main shaft bearings right there. There's a little set screw right here to take this gear off. Should come off no problem. Pulls right off, and there's the other main shaft bearing. So we got our Boca bearings replacements right there. So MR74 open. slide the first one over the shaft. The screw hole that holds the gear in makes it a little tough for the bearing to get over that spot. Just give it a little force there. Put our gear back on. See when it's lined up. Finally got that back in. Here's our other bearing. And that just slides around loosely on there because it's the journal and the frame that holds it in place. So go ahead and put our main gear back on. See, it's got a flat spot on the rotor shaft, which corresponds with a similar spot inside the gear, so you got to line it up just right. Once you get the shaft in there, you want to make sure that the gear meshes are all where they're supposed to be, which is right here. That should lock into place, as well as the main gear should lock into place with the motor. Definitely want to put it back together in the same order I took it apart, since it's my first time doing one of these. Want to make sure everything lines up and everything fits together like it's supposed to before you start screwing stuff together. Don't want to pinch those wires. See, inside here there are a couple of pegs. I don't know what's the best way to get it on camera, but that's the part you got to get lined up. There's 2 pegs and some holes right there. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but if you're actually doing it, you'll definitely see it. Once you get those lined up, everything fits together, moves just like it should. Everything looks good, so I'm going to start putting the screws back in. You don't want to mix these up either. There are the really tiny screws which hold the circuit board on. There's 2 of those, and then there's the larger screws. Don't forget our pins to hold the canopy on.
Yeah, hi, this is the Don, please. Yeah, it's Larry from Local Bearings returning his call.
So that's the pretty much the frame back together. Now we'll got to reconnect this piece. So all right, just going to reconnect this connection right here to the tail. That's the orientation that it goes in, not the other way around like I did the first time.
Okay.
I would connect it here first. One of those little ball connectors we love so much. Snap it in place there, and then there's a little groove right here that will ride in, snap right in just like that. Now we'll put the landing skids back on.
Hey guys, thanks for watching my video. If you guys have any feedback, recommendations, things you want me to address, please let me know. My email address is at the bottom. Tell your friends to subscribe to my YouTube channel. We will be giving this Blade 130 with Local Bearings upgrade. We're going to give it away. Okay, I'm going to be doing some sort of contest within the next month or 2, so definitely stay, keep posted, keep checking back with us, and, submit an entry. Hope maybe you'll win.